Okay, can you all hear me? I used to be a social economy consultant. I'm now managing director of Casa. And when I'm old, 85, got dementia, need to be toileted every day, every morning, I want that person to be well-trained, committed, have a stake in what they do, and the same person. And that was the whole motivation. This is what we do essentially. Deliver 18,000 hours a week of care, domiciliary care, mainly to older people, some learning disability work. And I think what I want to focus on today now is about profit, about risk, about product development, and about workforce culture. We are a social enterprise, so we're owned by the workers, so we're employer-owned. So I have 850 shareholders that I'm accountable to. And the basis is our workers own the business, take a profit share, have a share, get a dividend. Our labour continuity is a lot lower than the private sector. So that leads to continuity of care, that leads to investment in training, staff development, and a load of other stuff. And the reason that's important is in the UK, same as Australia, same as any Western country at the moment, I think, we've got a huge problem. If you don't understand, if you're not scared by the demographics, you don't understand them. Okay, we're all refusing to die. Infants are living longer with much more profound and complicated disabilities. There's less people of working age. So how are we going to deliver all of this support? And we're only going to manage to do it through innovation. Sorry, that's just a bit about us. So we deliver 18,000 hours a week. We have 6 territories in the UK, employ over 800 people, turnover of 10 million, make 600. I just had that because I love the graph. Actually, I won't say that because we've been videos. Just one point about social enterprise before I go on is really good social enterprises are ones where the value proposition and the commercial proposition are the same. So ours is about, because labour churn is an expense. Okay, if you can cut your labour churn down, you cut your costs. Recruitment and trading are huge costs in care. At the same time, you deliver best care by being consistent. Some examples of things I did as a social economic consultant, actually, not the Rochdale pioneers, I'm not that old, but Robbie here. I'd set up the Shetland soap company years ago. And we used to make a bar of soap for 28p. Guess how much it costs? Sorry, guess how much we used to sell it for? £3.50. Huge margin. But we needed that margin because Robbie takes longer than people without a disability to hand carve soap. So if we're going to pay him £8 an hour to get him off benefits, we need that big margin to be able to do that. So social enterprise is using good commercial techniques for a social purpose. So this is a classic scissor of the problems we're all facing. Huge spike in demand, huge fiscal challenge. In the UK, 19 million over 65 by 2050. That's almost as big as Australia, isn't it? 8 million over 80. 75% of the population only. So, this is the typical policy response, okay, which is about personalisation, consumerism, give individual disabled people money to buy their own stuff, essentially deregulate the market, cut costs down. Secondly, ration on volume and price, de-skill, deregulate. But I think there's a whole range of other things we can do, and that's what I want to focus on talking about today. It's about getting rid of this consumer-provider split. We all actually want the same thing. Modernise the way we look after and support people. Get people support in their own homes. Use technology more. Embrace work and economic activity. And shift from direct public sector to other ways of doing stuff. And stop people getting into hospital. Our response to that challenge has been workforce is key and enterprise is key. And because there isn't that much money around, there needs to be no financial leakage. So we haven't got any external shareholders. So all the money we make goes back into the staff, the service, things we do, training. Be as efficient as possible. Be as open, be open and transparent. Not as possible, just open and transparent. I'm famous for turning up either to employee meetings or meetings with commissioners with a spreadsheet. Say, you pay me this, I pay you that. If you can do it any better, show me how. Simple. And so, co-production. We're all on the same planet together. We've all actually got the same needs, the same wants. Instead of having this really artificial, I buy you, you provide, can't we sit down together, mutually, and work out better ways of doing things? That's just a bit of history. I think narrative's really important. And actually, it's part of our engagement with our workforce. It's actually saying, this is our heritage. We started with a bunch of working class women in 1976 getting together to set up a co-op because they were concerned about being able to work and had their kids looked after. And that has led to Casa today. But the key message all the way through is workers working together for a common benefit. You don't want to lose that message. This is our organisation, was. We've got another blob now, but I didn't have time to do it. So we have a kind of parent holding company which has sucked up all the backroom stuff, all the payroll, all the finance, all the business development, and the other boring stuff. And actually we have 6 territories now run by management and the workers to deliver health and social care. So it's trying to get it as efficient as possible. You were right about Virgin Care and Bupa. Scale is important. Volume is important in care. We're in a volume business. You have to get used to it. And the only way you make a surplus on low margin is have a very high volume. What we've done is generate volume, centralise some services, but keep as much as we can down on the ground. Is this slide going to be made available? Yeah. So I can whiz through them. That essentially shows what we do centrally and locally. Although we're worker-owned, we have 4 social impacts that we try to measure on a social impact scorecard. First is service users, second is staff, third the commissioners, and fourthly the wider community. Council, people that buy our service, so in your case it would be... Yes, yeah. Although that's increasingly becoming more individual now with personalisation. I'd say about 75% of our contracts are still with local authorities. But we are paid by the hour, and so are our staff. So service users get continuity support, well-trained staff. We're willing to go the extra mile, and I think Robin, in your talk, will explain how that works in Sydney. Our staff get a share in the ownership, investment in their development, and transparency. Everybody knows why they're paid. If we can pay more, we do. I'll come back to that. Commissioners get the joy of me with my spreadsheets, saying why can I have a rise or this is what we want to do. Seriously, though, it's about sitting down with them and feeling their pain. There's huge fiscal constraints in the UK at the moment. Social care is probably the biggest local budget, which is undergoing a lot of chopping at the moment. So commissioners are looking for creative and innovative ways of doing things. They're like you and me, they care. They don't want to hurt people. And so it's about sitting down and working out how we can do things better and develop new products and services, do things differently. And finally, community, we give some of our money back, sponsor the odd football team, give to the odd charity. I just wanted to go through what I thought are our key components of success for as an organisation, because we're going 10, 11 years now. I used to be a geographer, by the way. That's what my PhD is in. So business was all very odd to me. I could tell you where my branches were, but that was about it. What I learned early on, both as a social economy consultant and also now running Casa, and founding and running Casa, is it's all about people. Business is all about people. And it's about finding the right people, getting them in teams in the right places to do the right things. If you can get that one right, a lot of the other stuff is easy. Secondly, and I'll come back to this, we're an employer-owned company, but we employ 800 people. It's very difficult all the time to explain to a support worker what their role is, because not only do they have a share in the profit, how the company performs, they have a say in the governance. So essentially we elect one engagement champion per site, and they are on our general council, which essentially is like a trust. So it owns the shares in trust for the employees. And the longer you work for us, the more shares go from the trust to you as an individual. But they're also there to encourage feedback, to take suggestions. Our stock position is say yes. Never say no to suggestions. Say yes, try and make them happen. This be a good reason why it can't be done, rather than, I can't do that. Money is also important. And what we started off with a range of European and government grants back in 2004, and now we have venture capital investment or loan stock to help us do what we want to do. It's about using the right kind of money at the right kind of time to do the right kind of things. Business systems, key, absolutely key. And this comes back to the point I was making about efficiency. So somebody, I think you were talking about rostering. Who made rostering. We have something called Carefree, which does our rostering, does our payroll, because our workers get paid on an hourly basis, and it also does our invoicing. It also contains all the information about each individual service user. Okay? So it does the charging out, does the payroll, also does the database for everybody we support. We have something called ECM now, electronic call monitoring. So every employee is going to get, we're just piloting it, a smartphone, and they just scan in and scan out. Now automatically goes back to branch office and triggers Carefree. So it's great for lone workers, great for alerts of missed calls, and it's great for safety and safeguarding. We have weekly dashboards, so each branch generates a dashboard every week back up to group office, so we know exactly how each branch is doing, whether they're on target or not, whether their recruitment's on track, etc., etc. Single brand and a range of other. One thing I wanted to focus on, I guess, well, two things I'm going to focus on now, and then I'll stop questions to pass it. Firstly, how the thing that really bugged me was we had all these owners, and they weren't acting like owners. They were acting like employees. And, so we've gone. So yeah, this wonderful governance structure. Everybody gets a share, but everybody still acts like an employee. And I love owning a business. You know, I can't wait to get out of bed in the morning, and it's like having a toy that you play with. You know, imagine Christmas every morning. Okay, that is what being a business owner needs to be like. Because even when it's crap, it's good, because it's trying to fix it. So how do you do that? Well, I read a book, and on my way to Australia actually, and it was called, I don't follow a lot of business books on the whole, but this one was really good. It's called The Great Game of Business. And in the foreword, it's a guy that had given his tractor company to the workers. He said, and they won't act like owners. And it had a real resonance with me. But right, okay. So it's based on these three things. Know and teach the rules. So educate, teach, train your workforce so they understand how the business operates and be really transparent in it. Secondly, let them follow the action. So we publish every month our profit and loss accounts in reception, in accessible format. And then provide a stake in the outcome, which is easy for us because we all own it. And boil your business down to 2 or 3 critical numbers. Because I'm a geographer, not a business person, I blagged my first kind of business job. And everybody was talking about business plans and this and that, and I got my head around it in the end. And actually, you can boil business down to 2 or 3 critical numbers. And then all you need to do is share that with everybody. And then everybody gets to understand what they need to do to nudge those numbers. And if they nudge those numbers the right way, they get a share in the outcome. Yeah? So, we have a Manchester profit bucket. This is one of our branches. And so it's been explaining to everybody, okay, so we're going to pay tax. I know it sucks, but you have to. Pay for the schools and hospitals, pay off some debt, build a buffer, reinvest for the future, improve terms and conditions, and pay a bonus. We do that, and of course, it's constantly having to explain. And so whenever we engage with our employees, we boil the business down to a series of levers that you can pull in order to hit the profit bucket. And then we have this graphic in every reception in each of our branches, okay? And so every employee needs to understand the critical numbers. So A, they need to know that volume is really important, and we have targets in each territory, and we need to hit that in order to meet our profit targets. Quality is also really important, so we need to keep the traffic light on green. And the big thing in the UK at the moment is staff recruitment and retention. If you can recruit and retain support workers, you've got a very strong business, deliver quality. So one of our dashboard KPIs is carer capacity. So I know week in, week out, on average, how many hours a carer is doing in each branch. And if it nudges 30, we need to recruit more, because that's too many. Some do 50 hours and some do 16. But everybody knows that if that needle is nudging 30, one, they're going to be asked to cover more shifts so we can continue to take on more work. And secondly, they can get on the back of the manager, say, why aren't you recruiting more? Okay, so that one number signals certain things. And then they know have to do that for 3 months, make a profit. A third of the profit is paid in a bonus on a territory basis. A third of the profit is given at the end of the year to everybody in a tax-free bonus, and a third of the third goes in shares to individuals. So that's, and the other 2/3 goes back into the business. Just finishing then. So that's one of the ways we've engaged with our employees to create an employee-owned culture. And as Bill said, it's very hard work. It's work in progress, and it costs money, and it takes a lot of effort, energy, and a range of other stuff. The other thing we've done in terms of innovation is about looking at what markets we serve. And one, we've gone up the food chain, so we do much more complex care at home ventilation, pig feeding. To do that, we now employ nurses who can sign off the competences of our staff. But it's a win-win. It comes back to that whole idea about a social enterprise where the social objective and the commercial objective have to meet. So we were losing some of our staff because they wanted more challenging clinical work. By getting into that work, we can offer career progression to the workers who want to do that. The other issue is PAs, which is one way in which the market is being deregulated, and it's quite a challenge to regulated providers like Casa, because it's essentially personalisation. Disabled person can get 100 quid a week, We assess people to death, and then we give them some money, and then say, go and sort your own care out. And the issue with PAs not being trained or regulated is if they end up damaging themselves, they end up suing the disabled person. So we're making vulnerable people even more vulnerable. So I'm trained, not police checked in some places. The employer liability goes over to the disabled person, no holiday cover, no sick cover. But if you're a disabled person with 100 quid, you can buy 10 hours of regulated or 15 hours of unregulated support. So what one do you go for? We did a deal with a local charity in Leeds and the commissioners, who were innovative as well, and realised that the PA issue was problematic. So somebody can select a PA and then come to us, and we'll employ them on their behalf. So we'll take the employer liability risk, we'll provide the training, we'll do hands-off supervision, but we'll get out the way of your relationship with the individual. And that really is starting to gain traction, because for some disabled people, that issue of choice and control is key. And one of the strengths, I think, of personalisation is actually recognising that disability isn't about physical impairment, it's about loss of control. So if we actually start bringing disabled people back in control of their services, it can be a really good thing. But we do have to deal with these issues.